Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon as Jared Brandon.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled to death that you are listening to our show, this little podcast here. We've got a very special show for you. Well, I think they're all pretty special, but this one's even specialer. We have a guest, and guess who might you be?
Hi, I'm Mike Diluccio, executive producer.
Jared.
I'm Mike Diluccio.
That's good.
Correct.
That's
got
very
the accent
good.
and the dialect.
Yes, that's excellent. So, also known as Mikey D, as Tony likes to read off all the time.
Mikey D!
Yeah, we been in conversation with him. He said, hey, you know what? Let's bring him on a show here. And there's some backstory to that, but we'll just skip all that. We're just really happy to have him here. And we want to say a nice thank you to Mrs. Diluccio. Jared?
Mrs. Diluccio.
There you go. So he is and has been a great supporter of the show and the community, and is very involved in all the gear and all the boutique builders and other listeners and other supporters. So really, really happy that you're here tonight, Mike.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, we're going to find out all about him and all that good stuff real soon here. If anybody happens to be listening for the first time, two things I want to warn you. One, my chest coffee stuff is kind of rough, so I'm going to try to omit as much as possible. But the other thing is, you might not know exactly what we do here. You might have heard this from somebody, like, you should listen. And you're like, why? And they said, shut up and just listen. You're like, fine. Tony, what do we do on the show?
We like to talk about gear.
That's right.
And not just any gear. We like to talk about boutique gear.
Lots of it.
And we like to talk to the people that make boutique gear. And that's things like guitars and amps and pedals and accessories and all the good stuff. Occasionally we have a 101 episode in which we like to learn stuff. Mm-hmm. And then every once in a while, we have special guests, some movers and shakers in the ever-growing boutique gear world.
Mm-hmm. Very well done. Excellent. And, well, let's just get into it, shall we? Anything, anybody, announcements.
Yes.
No.
Okay, well, we got
Yes.
Who, what? Yes, what, Jared?
I said yes. May I please say? So there is a teaser out for Maestro pedals. Everybody remembers the old Maestro pedals from the 70s
With the little three horns kind of thing?
Yeah, the little three horns thing.
The trumpets,
if
not
you haven't
double
seen
horns.
the video, yeah, the trumpets are. But when you hit the switch, they light up, and it's
Very
just
cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm really excited. I believe they on the 18th is when they are available, and I am like waiting by the computer for that.
Awesome.
Guys,
Nice.
I just saw one today,
No kidding.
and
Awesome.
it doesn't even exist online yet. It's one of their distortions. It looks and sounds excellent. I believe it's called the Invader Distortion, so something maybe to stay tuned for.
Neato.
Really, really cool.
Now, I'll say that because I work for Gibson, I did see the whole thing a while back, but that made me super excited. I couldn't say a word about it for months and months and months, and now that they're finally out, are going to be. Well, actually, they're out now because you're not going to put this out tomorrow. Oh, dang it! I screwed it all up.
You're fine. We track what you're saying. We're doing this in the future.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, future.
So anyway, yeah, I'm really, really excited about these Maestro pedals coming out. I'm gonna try to get all of them.
How many are there?
I don't remember.
Many.
I've been focused on pickups.
Or is it 22?
No, I think it's at least 6 or 7, I think.
Okay.
And I could be wrong, and I apologize that I don't know, but because my focus is primarily on pickups, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm going to try to get all of them available.
Excellent.
Maybe your focus could become how your pickups interact with the pedals, and that you need a full set of the pedals for your little laboratory.
Yeah, I could probably swing that. Maybe not. I don't know. No, I'm sure we'll have a set of them somewhere, like in a jam room or a test room or something.
Well, thanks for that little announcement.
But you did get something this past weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, but we're not doing this week yet, man. We're still in announcements, for Pete's sakes.
All right.
Oh,
Okay.
We're still in an announcement.
Ready to move on, man. I'm sorry.
All right, here we go.
Log jam.
Need to do a big old shout out to that is correct. Rode Mike's way down in Australia, specifically to our pal Nick down there.
Yo, Nick.
So we're thrilled with our equipment, and we're so grateful that they have supplied that to us. And they provide so many different types of audio equipment for all kinds of needs. And as many people out there right now, even if you're listening, it doesn't matter if you're a builder or not, you're probably making some kind of content. They've got a little something for everybody. So make sure you check them out if you're like, I need a thing to capture my voice in whatever fashion that might be. So muchas gracias to Rode. Also, I just wanted to go through this. We had a heck of a great year last 2021. All things considered, it was still the duty show, but we came out and we kept swinging. And I was going through, I always catalog everything at the end of the year, and I was looking at this list and I was like, wow, that was impressive. I'm so lucky that we get to do this, and it's a thrill to do it every time, and my heart is still 100%, 115% in it. So when I see a list like this, it makes me happy, and I just wanted to go, I'm going to speed through this really quick, because I want it. If you haven't heard the whole breadth of what we do, and all of the interviews, we're at 250 episodes. So it's a lot. But this last year, all right, you guys ready for this?
Fire away.
All right. Ask Rob 101, Brad Talinsky, Chris Gill, Cascade Pedals, Cody Foster, Cody Lane, Collector Emitter, Corey Nigro, Calbrand, Dan Pechacek. Never can get that right. From Old Blood Noise Endeavors, Dave Hunter, David Kamiga, Demos in the Dark, DePinto Guitars, Divine Noise, Hello Sailor, again, High Spirit Guitars, Hostresser, Jonathan Jerusik at 12th Hour Devices, Kaiser Tronics, Line 6, HX Stomp Guys, McGeaney Guitars, Marvin Guitars, Mask Audio, McSwain Guitars, Moon Guitars, Pickups 101 Q&A, R2R Electric, Radio Mule, Reeves Electro, Rickenbacker 101, Seeger Guitars, Silk Tone Amps, Spun Loud Effects, Steve Keys, Steve Stein, Sterner Guitars, Templo Devices, Thimble Wasp, 37 Effects, Tom Barras, Tommy Manasco, Tony Dudzik, True North Pedals, Vaderin Pedals, Very Good Ampco, Weird Noise, and William John Bennett III.
I've been everywhere, man.
That's
I've
a
been
lot
everywhere.
of fantastic interviews. Thank you all so much for taking your time out there to contribute to the Guitar Knobs, and we're just really looking forward to a great year. We're already lined up until March. Yeah, it's great. So,
don't we have a pickup guy coming on the show soon?
Yes, we do, all the way from New Zealand.
Yes. Wow.
Yes, Mr. Glenn. All right, enough of this fitter fatter. We're going to migrate over to what's going on in our music worlds this week. Tanya Bolonsky, why don't you kick us off, and then we'll check in with Mikey D.
All righty. Well, this is actually over a couple of weeks, but this is kind of fun. Probably back, 3, 4, 5 months ago. I think I was talking about the Epiphone Coronet reissue that I purchased. Mm-hmm. And I followed that up with, from the same series, an Epiphone Wilshire. And then just recently, I picked up a Epiphone Crestwood. And these are all the early 60s reissues that, I guess it came out in 2019, 2020. And I've been able to find some pretty good deals on getting all three. And they're all three red. And I find them to be incredibly good guitars for the money. These are, basically double cuts, early 60s style. They have 3+3 headstock with the Epiphone bikini badge on the headstock. And what's really cool is each one of them is just a little bit different. Like the Coronet has a single dog ear with a wraparound bridge like a Les Paul Jr. The Wilshire has two P90s and a Tune-o-matic bridge and tailpiece. And then the Crestwood has two mini humbuckers and the old school Epiphone trem that has like a wooden block on it. It's kind of a really cool looking piece.
Now, did you get the Crestwood or the Crestwood Custom? Because one of them, the difference between them, at least I just am seeing these. Now, I guess these would have been the original Crestwoods, because it has a shorter lower horn.
Yeah, so that one is the probably mid 60s style, and those also usually have a 6-in-line headstock.
3-in-3.
No, a 6-in-line.
Well, I'm seeing one with a 3-in-3, but
with a shorter horn. Oh, okay.
An ET 290, but I also see some with 3-in-3. So,
no, so the
whatever they were reaching for back in the day.
the ET 290 is actually one of the early Japanese Epiphones.
Oh, okay.
That's based on this. So,
that's cool.
But yeah, I mean, for the money, these are outstanding guitars. They're set neck. I've replaced the pickups, the P90s, the dog ear, and the P90s in the Wilshire. But I actually like the mini humbuckers that are in the Crestwood.
And that's got a funky kind of vibrato on it, right?
Yeah, that is a vintage style. It has the E on it with a wood block, and it's kind of based loosely on a Maestro. So it's kind of cool.
$600 for the price tag on those.
Yep, and then the Coronets start at $449.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I think I like the Crestwood so far most of all the reissues.
Well, it's all in with the sound that you're after. I'm a single pickup Les Paul Jr. guy myself, so the Coronet is actually, probably my favorite of the bunch.
Yeah, looks wise. I mean,
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, they did some different things with the pick guards on each model, but they're all pretty true to what came out like around 1960, 1961.
Cool, man. Well, that's fun. New guitar.
So I got the trifecta.
You get like a new guitar every flipping month, man.
It's a hazard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. It was your birthday this week.
Don't talk about that.
Yeah, is that what
Did you turn 50, good buddy?
What's that?
Didn't you turn 50?
I wish.
Again?
Yeah. How many times can I turn 50?
Cool. Well, that sounds like a whole lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing. What color did you get?
All three are red, cherry red.
Of course.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, let's see. What's up with Mike D?
Well, I wish I got a new guitar like Tony did. Yeah, it's been a 2-week long endeavor, I guess, kind of like with Tony. And the biggest thing in my guitar universe for the past couple of weeks has been a much needed urgent amp repair. And essentially I've got a couple of tube amps that I use regularly. And one of them, it's an old Hot Rod Deluxe from the late 90s. I've had it forever. It's seen hundreds of hours of use. And finally, it started kind of making weird noises, we'll say. I'll be playing, and then all of a sudden, it'll start kind of making like sizzling noises, kind of like it's frying sausages through the speaker.
Nice.
So, yeah. So I did a little research. It took some time. I'm not entirely unfamiliar to the world, I guess, of repairs and a little bit of electronic work. So I decided to dive in. I figured out, I'm going to give this repair a shot. Worst case scenario, an amp technician makes a little extra money if I mess it up.
Well, actually, worst case scenario is you electrocute yourself.
Yeah, I made sure to drain the filter caps. But
Good job.
I've been there. But so essentially, I actually reached out to Rob, who's been amazing. So thank you, Rob.
Rob Chafe, Mad Cow Amplification.
Chafe.
Oh, yeah. It was actually the episode with Rob, the first one you did, Amps 101, that really just got me in. I was like, I need to sponsor the show.
Nice.
Rob will sit side saddle next to Tony occasionally if Jared's not here, or otherwise while I ride inside the coach.
Oh, yeah.
with my fan.
Yeah.
I have the vapors.
Yeah. Gentlemen, hurry up. Anyways, I don't know where that was going.
So that's cool. So tell us more about the repair. What did you end up doing?
So essentially, the Hot Rod Deluxe amps have a couple of little building defects. Rob has made that clear in a previous podcast. And one of the defects, though, is that there's these resistors that essentially kind of burn the circuit board.
Oh.
They're mounted really, really close to the board. And so essentially what happens is it burns the board to the point where the connections actually detach from the PCB.
Oh my goodness.
So I ended up getting a couple of these. They're like 5-watt cement block resistors. Anyway, I changed those, changed a couple of Zener diodes, and now it's great. Awesome. Then I got carried away, and yesterday I changed the filter caps because eventually they go bad. And so, it's all good. But the reason it was so urgent is probably more important, and I think you guys will appreciate it. It's that certain things work really well in stereo, and you need 2 amps. Yeah. And I recently got the best Christmas gift ever, the Keeley Hydra, which, so nice. And that harmonic tremolo in stereo is unbelievable. And you can really tweak it so you can have it kind of show up on each side as much as you want. It's just, you can fine tune the heck out of it. So the reverb on it is surreal, and the trem options are spectacular. So I'm like, I need this now. I'm not going to wait 3 months for a repair. Everything's backlogged right now. So it was a worthwhile pursuit, we'll say. So all is well on that end.
So do you have 2 of the same amp or 2 different amps?
No, the other one is a trainer, because I'm Canadian, so we have to have at least one.
Of course. Which model?
It's a head. They don't make it anymore. It's called a custom special 100. It kind of looks like a Mesa. It's like a big, more than anyone needs, 100-watt head. I only use it for the clean channel, to be honest. And you can tweak it in such a way that you can bring the clean, just to the edge of breakup without it being so loud. It's got a good master volume setup in it. So, and that I have going through an old Gens-Benz 212, which is a really cool cabinet. They're ported.
Yep.
So it carries a lot of, actually moves a lot of air, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm a big fan of of trainers, especially 60s, 70s trainers. I mean, they are just, when I was buying them, they were just, nobody knew about them, and they were just the best bargains on the planet.
So for those that may not be as familiar with the Trainer amps, that's TRAYNOR, everybody, in case you aren't familiar.
Yep.
Tony and Mike, how would you characterize the sound profile?
Well, they are pretty much all based on either a Voxy circuit or a Fender circuit, depending on which models you get. It's like some of their smaller combos use EL84s, kind of like a Vox. There's there's some 4-tube ones. There's a 2-tube one. And then they also had, my personal favorite was the Bassmaster, which is like 100-watt head that is just really incredible. It uses EL34s. So I guess it's kind of, they're like hybrid circuits between, Marshall, Fender, and Vox, depending on which model you get. But they're indestructible amps. In fact, in the 60s, when Pete Trainer was building these in Toronto, one of the little things that he would do is he would take an amp up to the roof of the building and drop it into the parking lot and then plug it back in, and it would work.
That's kind of like, I guess it's called the DS1 test.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it Bogner just doing that too? Didn't I hear that?
He might have. He's done some interesting things. But yeah, I mean, if you build an amp strong enough and you use good circuitry and simple circuitry, you don't usually have too much to worry about.
Correct. Yeah,
Very
and they in recent years they started doing these custom valve. They call them like the custom valve specials or custom special and the 50-watt custom valve amps, and those are a little closer, I guess, to like a hot rodded JCM 800 EL34 bass. So those are really, really, really popular. Mine's in that series. So they've branched out in a lot of ways, but they still make those like EL84 Vox style combos to this day, and they're really, really cool. Yeah,
and they're here in Ohio. Since we're relatively close to the Canadian border, you can find them pretty easily. I don't know how easy they are to find out west or down south, but in North and Northeast United States, you see them a lot.
No, someday I'll get my hands on one, I suppose.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. Well, that's mighty cool. Thank you for sharing that, Mikey. How about Jared? What's going on, buddy?
Oh, yeah. So they actually had the guitar show.
Yes,
in Columbus. They did. And I didn't think I would be able to go, but because of the COVIDs going on and at work, they're trying to do their best to not expose anyone. So I kind of got to have some extra time in Ohio. So I decided, of course I can't sell brand-them on pickups anymore, but what I could do is offload all of the musical gear that I don't want to move to Nashville and just sell it. And it was all like PV stuff and, just knickknacks that nobody cares about. And there wasn't a ton of value that I sold but I had so much that it all sold out.
You sold everything by noon, didn't you?
I had everything sold within 45 minutes. Everything was gone because I'm like, throw me an offer, this much, and I'm like, oh yeah, good, sold. I mean, it was one of those things. I mean, I didn't have any golden jewels, but I know I made some people's day, and that made me feel good. And
plenty of polished turds.
Yeah, I mean, hey, when you leave the show with $1,700 in your pocket, cash. Yeah. Minus 200 for the two tables, and
good for you.
The table was next to like Andy Harrison, Mark Chatfield, and we all had a good time, and it was a good time. It was great to see people I haven't seen in a while,
but rumor has it that you purchased something at the show.
Oh yes, I did. I purchased an original Maestro octave fuzz. I had to get it. I brought it home and I plugged it in, and I think it needs a new battery because you can barely hear the octave. I don't know if they're supposed to be like that or they're just not good. But I got to take it apart. You literally have to take it apart, like all the screws off and everything, like an old 70s pedal, to change the battery out.
And there's no power port on it either, right?
No power port, yeah.
Yeah.
And because of the value of those, I really don't want to be the guy to do it. So it's not. I'm not a gigger guy, so I'm not going to mod it. I'll put a fresh battery and see what it does, and let you guys know next podcast what happens there.
Cool.
But I got me a pedal, and I had to get rid of a bunch of stuff because I mean the truth is we're going to probably have to get a smaller house down here than what we have now. Just because of the market difference. So
nice.
Have less room for less stuff.
Well, there you go. Make sure there's room for Todd and I to stay.
Oh, there's always room for you two clowns.
Like it.
Absolutely.
We'll bring the RV and park it in the drive.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I was hoping to go to the show. I was planning on going to
what's
the
up
show.
with you, man? What's up with you? What about your thing?
Well, I got hammered with the actual, the full Monty COVID. And you can probably hear it a little bit in my voice. I have a chest full of cement, it feels like. And that was 5 or 6 days of extreme unpleasantness. That was not a fun thing to go through. Now, I didn't have it. I've already, I was vaccinated. I had it twice, two vaccinations and everything. So getting hit with that at I guess 75% strength of what it normally would be, I can't imagine that full on.
It saved your life.
Yeah, it might have. The sad thing is I saw several posts coming out of that of people that I know, they're my friends, who had posted memorials to people our age. I was shocked. I was scared, actually. But anyhow, so that precluded me from doing just about anything with guitars.
Well, that's okay. That's the best thing to do is rest up, get your strength back, and that's all you can do.
Well, and
everything's waiting for you to come back to, buddy.
It's true, and including something that was sitting on my bench. So I did a little pedal trade with our friend Alec from Mask Audio, and I traded him something, and he sent me the Black Cap Old Blood Noise Endeavors asynchronous dual tremolo. So I traded him a crazy tremolo for a crazy tremolo. I think he might have missed the point in that, but it's really cool. It's really cool. I've only dipped my little pinky toe into the black murky waters of this thing, but there's some really interesting things that you can do with that. Obviously, because that's all Old Blood Noise Endeavors does, is make interesting sound pedals.
Oh, no doubt.
So I'll let you check this out, but it's pretty neat. And it's just, it's fun to go ooh, I don't know what's in this thing. It's a surprise. So I encourage you. Everybody should do that out there. Get yourself a pedal trading pal. And, it's kind of like one of those Japanese toys where you're like, I bought it, but I have no idea what's in it. Those are very popular. Those are really neato.
Great idea.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Tony.
How's it going up there in Canada?
Living the dream. It's a balmy minus something.
Ooh, brother.
Nice.
Sounds good. Hey, being from Canada, there's a company that all of us use their products. It's called Tour Gear Designs. Perhaps you've heard of them?
Yeah, they've shown up at my door a couple times.
Really?
Nice.
The whole company or just some cables?
Cables, and actually Marco himself once delivered. Such a nice guy, a former guest of the podcast.
Kidding.
No kidding.
That's very cool.
Well, it's Canada, right? He's down the street, so.
Yes.
Well, I my next order, I expect him to deliver right here.
That's right.
Mike D said you would deliver this.
And in Nashville.
In Nashville. So, do you have a bunch of these different cables?
I made 3 orders, so I have enough for now. Couple dozen, set different sizes, and S shape, C shape, you name it.
Do you have the W shape?
What is it with the W shape? Stop it.
Is that actually a thing?
No, it isn't. You just bend it in the middle.
Oh, not yet.
Nah, well, I'm sure that in addition to the various sizes and shapes and all this stuff, you probably like that they're very flat, they're very reliable, and they're very affordable.
You got it.
All of those stuff. And you know what?
Amazing.
Now, I don't know if you know this or not, because you probably don't listen to this podcast, but if you did, you'd find out that you can save even more money by entering a special code. Todd?
The Guitar Knobs.
The Guitar Knobs.
All one
At
word.
the end of your order, you will save an additional 10%.
Wow.
I should have done that.
You get a lot of cables, though, so that 10% goes a long way.
It adds up really quick. Make sure you get on over to tourgeardesigns.com and get yourself 10% off with the Guitar Knobs discount code and get some really excellent pedals or pedal patch cable patch potatoes. Poughkeepsie?
Get some Poughkeepsies.
Hang on. Get yourself over to tourgeardesigns.com and use the guitar knobs for the discount code and get yourself 10% off some fantastic patch cables. We want to give a huge thank you to Tour Gear Designs for continuing to support our show and for sponsoring our 4 on the Floor. Jared?
Let me get a little bit of this.
That's pretty good.
1, 2, 3, 4 on the floor.
All right, Mike Diluccio, give us your 4 on the Floor.
All right. So I have thought for quite a while about this, and the best way to do it, I think, is to have a theme. So the theme here is pedals that have been practical. They've served me well over time, and they inspire creativity, basically. So the first one, I don't think it's shown up before on 4 on the Floor, but it is the Fox Rocks Octron. And this is an analog octaver that it looks cool. It looks like the name suggests, Octron, like it looks like it could be in Transformers. But it's essentially a analog octaver with a lower and an upper. And the lower is similar to like the old DoD Octoplus. So it's not like a Pog. It's not tracking the same way a Pog would. It's more like we'll say like an octaver that you have a conversation with, right? You use your neck pickup, you play a certain way, it responds. It's really, really, really sensitive. So the lower octave, it does its thing. But really the thing about this that really sets it apart from any other pedal is the fact that the upper octave operates kind of like a fuzz circuit. So if you've used like a super fuzz or anything like that, there's that kind of upper octave you get when you're playing further up on the fretboard. And with this pedal here, if I crank the upper octave, it adds a little bit of grit to the circuit. And if I plug it into, let's say, any drive pedal, an overdrive, distortion, whatever, it'll basically make it a fuzz. So it also allows me to not have a fuzz on my 4 on the Floor, because this kind of, kills 2 birds with 1 stone. And it's really cool. It looks awesome. There's several versions of it. I like the first version the most because there's some internal trim pots where you can really fine tune things. Like if you want the octave down to be more mid-focus, so you hear it more than feel it. Really, really, you can basically fine tune it to match your amp. You can add more gain to the upper octave. So it's very different than, Pog or Pitchfork or anything along those lines. It's really, really, it's funky. It's got character, and it looks cool. So that's the first one.
Awesome.
And also a small builder, I must say, I believe from New Jersey. And the builder, actually, Dave, he's really cool. You can email him and get right back to you. So maybe a future guest. So that's number 1.
Okay, cool.
And we will go in. Let's do signal chain order here. So number 2, this one actually was mentioned in the show once. I think you read like one of our conversations during the interview with, I think it was Effects Layouts. And I mentioned the Emma Riza Fratsitz RF2. It's like nothing else. So it's a gain pedal or drive pedal, but it's not a distortion. It's like an overdrive with more. I don't want to use the term amp in a box, but it's like that. So the name implies it's like a rat, but it's not. I can't quite explain it. It's got a ton of body. I can only compare it to like maybe a JHS Angry Charlie, like the same range of gain, but just way, way, way more body. It just takes your amp to a whole other place. There's 2 versions of it. Tried them both. Both do the same thing, but it's really, really cool. It's a small company out of Denmark. Same company that makes the discombobulator envelope filter. I think they're a little more well-known for that. So that is number 2.
That's a new one. Or it's not it isn't a new one. It was mentioned before, but that's not one that we hear often, that's for sure.
Oh, it's so good. And okay, the third one, though, is one that has come up on the show. I think it was Hello Sailor.
Hello, Sailor.
Yeah, it was. Was it? Yeah, it was Hello Sailor who mentioned this one. Okay, so my third pedal, is, I'll say that again. My third pedal is an 80s Ibanez Prime Dual Chorus. It's a TC10. and it's a weird one. I mean, it's 80s Ibanez 10 series, right? One side is just a chorus with two knobs, just speed and width, and then the other side's a flanger. And I think the last person who mentioned it talked about how great the flanger is. I think mine's got a problem. My flanger sounds weird. It whistles and does all kinds of bizarre stuff. But the chorus side of it is spectacular. It's on its own, it's fine, but in stereo, like it has a stereo jack in there, it is just 3D.
Wow.
It does the doubler thing really, really, really well. So that stereo rig that I was talking about, this is an essential part of it. It just makes things jump out. And also, too, if you need just a little bit of a boost for solo, like a couple decibels, that really does it quite well. So it's just I guess a mid to late 80s. It looks like the 80s in a box. So it's one of those. Really, really cool pedal. And the last one, I think this one has shown up before, too, is the Walrus Audio D1 delay. And this one's really cool. Like it does a lot, but it's not a huge pedal. So it's pedal board friendly. The sound quality on it is just something else. And it also does a really good dual stereo function too. So we can have it kind of bounce between the speakers in a really different kind of way. But the amount of control that you have over the repeats, you can age them certain ways. You can really shape the tone. I love it. And when I plug into this combination of pedals, it's just, I don't want to put the guitar down. It's one of those combinations. So, that's the 4 on the floor.
Right on.
Very nice. Very nice.
All right. So I think a great segue out of that would be to learn a little bit more about your gear as we learn a little bit more about you. And I think the first thing that we should just remind everybody who's like, wait, who are we listening to? Who is this guy? Well,
It's Mikey D.
It's Mikey D, and we say his name all the time at the end of the show. He's a great supporter of our community of the builders out there, and he's a gear enthusiast, and he's one of us like everybody else. So anyways, that's why we're talking, because he's a man on the street. That's what Mike D is. We're gonna find out first a little bit about his gear, and then get a little bit about a background, like what does he do, and how does this all connected. First of all, coming out of your 4 on the floor, what is the gear that you are playing with these things?
Todd, I play your absolute favorite guitar, the Fender Stratocaster.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a flame top PRS, but anyways.
No. I've got a few different guitars, but I guess the reason I use a Strat, more specifically a Fat Strat, is I've played in cover bands for well over 20 years at this point. Mm-hmm. Just about 20 years, actually. And a Fat Strat, at least for my purpose, is just so practical, right? You can get those kind of, Pearl Jammy, slinky sounds, position 2 and 4, and get a little heavy with it. And it also, if, you're going to be playing for 3 hours in a night, the weight is just okay for that.
Sure.
So
now, Fat Strat, is that, when you're saying fat, is that a correlation with the, like a humbucker in the bridge position?
Correct, yes. So
okay.
Humbucker in the bridge and 2 singles. So
excellent.
And it's just, it's practical, it's comfortable, but
So one of those pickups makes sense. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. The bridge, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, the bridge humbucker, the JB, but I'll have to put a Brennan wound in there soon.
You don't have to if you don't want to, but I mean, JB is probably something I would, a style or that spec is what I would definitely recommend for a Strat.
Yeah.
So I think you've got the right idea.
And what color is it?
So I actually have 2. I had one that I've been using since I was 13, and I cloned it. So,
that's cool.
It's a little. I'll try to explain it as well as I can right here. So my first electric guitar was a Mexican Strat. It was like a '94, and I killed it. It had a maple neck. It looked like Clapton's Blackie after a few years. It was just destroyed. So I actually have a US Tele neck on it. It's the body sunburst. And over time, I just found that there's certain things about Strats I don't like. And I'm sure at least one of you can relate. One thing being that volume knob, just digging into my pinky. So I moved it to the bottom. So I made that a master volume. Well, I guess it's always a master volume. And then I made the tone knob in the middle a master tone. And then that left more space, right, for the pinky. And then in the bottom horn, I did some chisel work, we'll say, and put in a kill switch. in part because of playing in cover bands, mostly 90s music. The kill switch comes in handy, especially for the Rage Against the Machine stuff.
Sure.
So yeah, just a toggle switch connected to ground and live. And and then basically I got worried, like if something goes wrong, sometimes, especially with a kill switch, they wear out. And what if I have a gig coming in, it's not good to go. So I basically found another Mexican Strat on Kijiji a few years ago for nothing. And I ended up putting a Wangi neck on it, which is really cool. Totally different kind of thing.
Wow.
And then, the other specs are the same. And
they're both sunbursts, you said?
Oh, so the second one is black. So the other one's just all black. So black pickguard, black body, and Wangi neck, which is a dark brown wood. Yeah. And the pickups, though, in the middle and neck, I stumbled across these pickups like 15 years ago. They're the Fender Tex-Mex, and I think they were put in like the Jimmy Vaughn Strats. Mm-hmm. And the way they were set up was the bridge pickup was wired way hotter than a normal Strat bridge pickup, just to kind of compensate. So I don't know. I got the crazy idea when I was like 18 or 19 to put that bridge pickup in the neck of my Strat to make it really hot, which sounds so, I guess, outside of the norm of what people usually do, but it works. It's bright. So again, especially for like the Rage Against the Machine stuff and certain styles, it really, really jumps out. So it's an inverted Tex-Mex single coil setup and then a JB on the bridge. And Graph Tech saddles. I haven't broken a string in years. So that's essentially it.
All right. So it's not a clone at all. Essentially, that's what you're saying.
It's Well, they both have the same.
They're
pickup.
both Strats.
They're both Strats. Yeah, they're clones. The second
completely
one
different pickups, totally different necks, and different color.
Exactly. No
It's
original
exactly the
necks.
same.
I don't think. Not even the screws are original. Nothing.
Yeah, it's like when Jared and I are walking down the street and they're like, "You guys must be twins."
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's Stratish. Let's say that. It's in Strat territory.
The most important question, trem cover on or trem cover off?
Off.
Of course. And where did you put it?
Cover you flipped it over and used it as an ashtray.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's no trem cover on this. It's
that's what I'm saying. You're like everybody else that takes it off, throws it in a drawer somewhere, and then can't find it when you want to put it back on.
Well, that was colorful, Tony. Thank you for that.
I just like adding a little bit of
So, and you talked about you're using a trainer amp. That's your main amp, and the amp that you talked about that you were fixing. You got that amp. What kind of music? We know that you talked about doing a bunch of 90s like covers and stuff. Very admirable. You're out there just, getting it done. You're playing. You're enjoying yourself. What do you play? Do you create any of your own music, or what do you play when you're not having to cover things?
A pretty wide range of things. I just find that there's certain guitarists that stay kind of inspiring. So when I'm, at least lately at home, I've been playing a strange mix of like John Scofield style stuff. This is just fun. Like he incorporates effects, which obviously I'm a big fan of, but with kind of jazz and blues type things. So his style, and I've kind of gone down a bit of a Pantera rabbit hole, which is in the whole other end of the spectrum there, right? But just there's some of the techniques that Dimebag Darrell would use that it's been something that even as a teenager, I'd always be trying to figure out. And now I used to think I needed his exact equipment, at that time, at that age. But now I was just spending a whole lot of time exploring that. And depending on what I'm plugging into, different things kind of get inspired and come out. So a little bit of White Stripes type things, all over the place. But for the longest time, it had been stuff for the cover bands. But I've been basically able to step back from that. Todd, I think I mentioned this to you at some point that I had to basically stop playing with the cover bands because I've got like a nerve issue in my arm. I know it's pretty popular, or not popular, sorry. It's pretty common with bass players. It's like an ulnar nerve.
The fingers. I experienced that for a little while. It's like touching your tongue to a 9-volt battery.
Exactly.
I was freaked out, and that's actually how I found Scott's bass lessons. Which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if for some reason you are not aware of Scott's bass lessons, even if you're not a bass player, I highly recommend checking out that guy's content. It is incredible. And what a prolific teacher that guy is. Anyways, carry on.
Yeah, so it's been the last year or so has just been a lot of digging into things that I used to spend time learning and taking more time with them. So even like Paul Gilbert stuff, his old videos, I have his like videos from the 80s, and they're so ridiculous. He's got like tassels hanging down from his arms, and green screen thing going on, and roads moving in the background and all that. But just basically tying up loose ends from the last 20 years. So I taught guitar for years when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I had all these things I was teaching people that I wanted to finish learning myself. It was maybe teach someone a riff and part of a solo, and then I had like a note. Okay, learn the rest of this solo. So it's been a lot of digging into that.
I thought sure you were going to say that you when you're all by yourself, you basically all you play is Tigers of Pantang covers. And everybody's like, "What the heck is Tigers of Pantang?" Go look it up. You'll thank me.
Will do.
Cool, man. Well, I like the fact that you are out there and you're just like, I mean, hey, if you're playing for 3 hours, that's freaking cool. I love that. Doesn't matter what you're playing. If you're playing for 3 hours, doing anything, if you're doing anything that you really love for 3 hours, that's a good day.
Exactly.
Now, what do you do when you're not playing out and, making calluses on your fingers?
I repair tubes.
You repair tubes?
I repair tubes, yeah. Rob sends them to me. And I repair specifically the 6973 tubes. No, I'm joking.
I was like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure that goes against all things that Rob is.
Yeah, because Rob is waiting till he can get on one of the next space missions so he can do it in the vacuum of space.
Yes, I was like, that's okay. I didn't know that. So what's your day job, Mike?
Okay, no, I'm a high school teacher, just a little bit northeast of Toronto, and I teach history, social sciences, behavioral sciences, whatever they throw at me. I've done a guitar course before, which is really cool.
Oh.
And so that's my main thing. But I'm
humongous hats off and all the trophies in the world to the teachers of our universe. Truly, truly unsung heroes of our society.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And
how long have you been doing that?
10 years now.
Keeps you young, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. being around 90 teenagers a day will do that. I learn a lot of things. Some of the things I wish I didn't learn, but
I can imagine. I bet, when you're hanging out at parties with your wife and stuff, you're like, geez, I wish somebody would ask me about K-pop right now because I can go on for days about that.
Exactly. It's funny you say that. That is a big part of it.
It's insane.
It's crazy. My way is something else.
So how did you get bit by the guitar bug?
Well, I started playing when I was about 11. And I think with a lot of beginners, you see a music video and say, okay, I want to do that. So it was an I'm Mother Earth video. So Canadian rock band and killer guitarist. Just started taking lessons, and one thing led to another. I had some friends that played guitar, and I'm pretty sure I was a bit jealous at that age too. So that is a great motivator. Mm-hmm. And then when I was about, 16 or so, the music school where I was taking lessons asked if I wanted to start teaching younger beginners. So I took a course there, did that for a few years. I could happily do it the rest of my life. I loved it. It's one of those jobs. Yeah. You get paid and realize, oh yeah, that's right. This is a job. Then I went to university just to, learn some other things, branch out. And through guitar teaching, some of my students, one was actually a retired principal, and he said, you should consider teaching high school. And I'm like, no way, man. Absolutely not. But that was a trajectory. So I actually wouldn't be teaching if it wasn't for guitar. No, it was just the series of steps that led there. Yeah. And then around that time too, you make connections. And when I was about 19, I started playing with a 90s cover band even then. And back then the stuff was new. This was like 2003. So it was a great thing then too, because the bar crowd was all our age. They're the people that are all going out to check out the gigs, 20, 21 years old. And so that was all new. And then since then I've been playing either, acoustic covers with an old friend or the cover bands that I've been playing with for the past few years. So, but I've had to take a hiatus from the cover bands because of the nerve issue. It's brutal. And I hope none of the listeners ever have to have this. It's just nasty. Like I can't play for 3 hours anymore, maybe half an hour or so. So when I do play, it's like, make it worthwhile.
Yeah. Now, are you using the one of the gloves?
No. So this is a little bit different. I don't know if you've ever woken up and your pinky, like you said, the battery thing, like it just tingles.
Yeah.
But this is the nerve running all the way up through the elbow and to the shoulder. So sometimes it feels like there's like a
it's
screwdriver.
going from your elbow to the shoulder, not your hands.
Both sides. So basically the nerve ends at your pinky and ring finger and goes all the way up your arm into kind of like the back of your neck and your shoulder. So the reason this got worse was I was playing in 2 cover bands and it was awesome. We were gigging often twice a week, but 3-hour rehearsals, 3-hour gigs, having a strap on your neck against the nerve and then arm bent. Throw in the fact that I'm left-handed. I write left-handed, but play right-handed. So there's a lot of strain on that left arm. So it got to the point where I basically ignored it for a while because that's, I guess, what a lot of guys do. And I'd be sitting down, watching TV at night and it feels like there's electricity going down my arm. And then it kind of got to the point where it felt like there was a screwdriver in my elbow, like funny bone all the time.
Oh man.
So and it felt so bad because I didn't want to leave the bands hanging. These guys are great. Both bands were all friends. Both of the 90s cover bands will have people fill in for each other. Like it's a community. It's amazing. I love it. I miss it. So I basically just kept pushing it. I'm like, I don't want to let these guys down. I love this. So in a way that the COVID initial lockdown was a blessing because it put me in a position to just do what I needed to, rest it. I've seen physiotherapists, chiropractors, other specialists, and it's kind of like a repeated use injury in a lot of ways. So it doesn't quite go away just the way that it is in my arm, the way it sits. So I can still play and, I'll get back to it eventually, but it takes a very long time. Like nerve issues and even nerve damage can take months and months and months to heal. And
or never.
You need to, or never, right? Or immobilize it. There's certain things. But it's daily habits. Like if you sleep with your arms bent, that'll make your nerve dig into your elbow a bit. It can get trapped. So
I totally
and this is a
that.
common
That's
issue
terrible.
for bass players. Yeah, it's brutal, but I'm still playing. I love it. But the flip side is it's been great in other ways. There's silver lining. I've been able to support the pedal community more than previously, and work on some repairs like with my amp and guitar modifications. So other parts of it, I get to stay in that part of the world, and then or the gear part of the guitar world. And then I also, just by luck, an old friend of mine who's written an instructional guitar book and another book. He reached out about a year ago, and he's basically doing an instructional program for adults, for people who want to learn to play like their favorite musicians.
That's great.
And this guy is great. He actually toured with Kiss. He was in the opening act for them a few years ago.
Oh, sweet.
And so he had a lot of great experience. He made a lot of good connections, and he wanted to build a program. It's like a subscription thing where we essentially custom tailor learning resources for people who want to sound like their favorite guitarist and play like them and learn their techniques. It's an alternative to just, going through YouTube and hoping you find the right video.
Right.
So I've been doing that. I've been making profiles. So, we've done everything from David Gilmour to Slash to Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, and then I'll do videos on the equipment using Amplitude. And so it's been really cool. Like this has been an opportunity to try some new things, and it's been good. Just, a change of pace, but so it's staying always one foot in the guitar world, basically.
That's killer, man. I love it.
Yeah.
What were some of the earlier, maybe aha moments as you've been going through this, journey? I don't mean earlier. Maybe you've even had a couple lately. Like, what are? I think we all have those things where you either have a breakthrough of your own talent, or you figure out something. You're like, that's how that happens, or that's how they do it. That's how they got that sound. Has there been anything like that you can recall? Yeah,
I think the biggest, I'd say, game changer for playing for me was teaching guitar. So even when I went off to school and I left the music school that I was working at, I still kept in touch, with friends in the guitar community and taught a little bit in the town where I was going to school, and kept in that world. But teaching guitar forces you to learn it more because you're accountable, right? So it's a private business. People come in, they want to learn that solo that's in open E. And, and this was at a time where YouTube hadn't really taken off yet. So it was literally listening to CDs and trying to rewind a CD, which was always a lot of fun. And so that helped a ton. That made the cover band thing quite easy, because in a cover band, you might be asked to learn, okay, we need to do 5 new songs this week. And it came naturally. That whole thing came naturally. So I'd say teaching was the biggest thing. And I'd say for all guitarists, even if you're not that far into it, if you have a younger relative or someone who wants to learn, it will take you really far to teach, because you then have to explain things that you're not explaining to yourself. And it's not to be too much of a teacher nerd, but it's the same reason why I like to take student teachers, because now I'm in a position where I have to explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So to me, that's the big one.
Got it.
And now having YouTube, that's a whole other thing. Way easier. So
very cool, man.
And all that. So yeah.
In your gear quest, are there any items that you're like, oh man, if I could just wave a magic wand, I would love these couple of pieces of equipment?
Oh, I think about that all the time. Well, I got to say, your show hasn't helped. I've been listening for about 3 years and change now. And it's like, I think the first show I listened to, I think it was the Robert Keeley interview.
Oh, wow. That was such a
good
and
he
one.
Mentioned, that was great. And he mentioned Beatronics. And he was so excited talking about Beatronics.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to get one of these now. So I pre-ordered a Swarm, which is the most bizarre pedal ever, but the fuzz alone on it is spectacular. But since then, many things. If I could wave a magic wand and have anything, probably one of the Soldano SLO series amps. Even I know they make a 30-watt SLO, which is more manageable, I guess, volume-wise. That would be really cool. And there are a few companies making really good, I will say, S-style guitars, like Friedman and McMull. That stuff, absolutely. And stuff's not cheap. Like, I'm playing with Mexican bodied Strats with assorted parts. So yeah, one of those would be amazing. And another one you guys inspired, Silk Tone amp.
It's a good sounding amp, man. That is a really great. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and has actually done a couple new modifications on it. Highly recommend checking those out.
Oh yeah, I was ambitiously browsing the other day, and I think one of the models is sold out right now, which means they're doing well, and just such a different kind of amp. Mm-hmm. Right, the KT66s, and the way that their voice is just So that there's a lot of things on the list, so thank you guys for that. Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah.
So as you are part of this great guitar community, are there any standout elements of it that you especially love, or that you'd like to give shout outs to?
Well, first and foremost, you guys.
That I was not fishing.
I know you were. Well, but there's something that became clear through your podcast, and I started to see it more everywhere, which is the camaraderie in the guitar community. So when I first started getting into podcasts, originally it was like just nerdy academic stuff like behavioral economics and all that. And then I found a couple guitar podcasts, and I listened to several, you guys the most, but the fact that you've interviewed other podcasters. Mm-hmm. And there's this incredibly supportive network. To me, that's huge. Even more recently, I saw that pedal documentary, the pedal movie. Mm-hmm. I think that was on, I think Reverb maybe sponsored it. Yep. And there's a lot of talk in the end. I know it was Josh from JHS and Brian Wampler just talking about how incredibly supportive that industry is of other builders. So it doesn't seem like a selfish industry. There's a couple dramatic moments that pop up every here and there, but there's just something really cool about it. It makes me want to buy more pedals. So, but, and also too, I can only, I'm not rich, but, buying and selling, that whole piece of it's really cool too. Like some of the people you meet, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but sometimes I'll list something on Kijiji. And then
so now you keep referencing. So Kijiji is a Canadian version of Craigslist, I imagine.
You don't have that. Yeah, it's like Craigslist. It's same type of thing. I think here at least Craigslist has a more of a kind of sketchy reputation, but Kijiji's, it's kind of like that and even say Facebook Marketplace, those types of things. But the amount of really cool interactions I've had flipping a piece of gear, and I've kept in touch with some of the people I've bought stuff from, or that have bought stuff from me. Like it's very a lot of characters, really fun people who can, and people who can appreciate things that not everyone else can. And again, this is one of the things I love about the show so much is it's never boring. And there's that whole, you know what I mean? Like and I know you mentioned this. I think it was in the Rode microphone interview, Todd, that you did, where you explained kind of why you're doing this, and you're doing it. There's something there. So I feel sometimes like I'm part of that conversation in a lot of ways. I look forward to it every week. It's just that kind of keeps the fire burning. Sometimes it can be an expensive fire, because, but it's a very, very good thing. And so, it's great to always learn about these new builders and support them. And that kind of keeps the interest there. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Mike, we really do appreciate you supporting us. I mean, that, as I say every week, we really couldn't continue to do this without support from people like you and the rest of our gang over at Patreon.
And even more, and moral support too, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, the notes that we get, the emails, it's really fun. I shared something with these guys that, I think I was talking about shielding, and local guy that I've done some work with, he was just saying, "Oh, you saved my butt again," because he removed shielding from a guitar that was too dark. And I wrote to Todd and I said, "See, I know stuff."
Tony, you know that you got me to open up one of my Strats after that. That was a week or two ago.
Yeah.
It was one of mine was over shielded.
It's a common mistake, and everybody thinks that, by building a Faraday cage, it makes everything super quiet. It just doesn't. It just kills the top end.
Correct. Yeah, capacitance, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that also happens on Telecasters too. A lot of people will just, cover the cavity. And if you got a swimming pool route on any of those things, the same thing can happen too.
Yeah, but it is always it's a real thrill if I get some direct things. Todd always forwards on other comments and things, so it's fun, and it lets us know that people are listening and appreciate what we're doing.
I personally love when I start to see, like in the comments. I mean, it's great to hear from other people, but I also really love when people who I know are listeners and who are active listeners in the community begin to chat amongst themselves. And, I love that, because I don't know if that would be happening.
No, you guys build a community, and the more you get into it, the more you get into it after that. Yeah. Even there was a funny one, a situation about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was in like the dollar store, and I was wearing my guitar knob shirt and was just kind of peeking out of my jacket. And the guy behind the cash was like, "Oh, I listen all the time. Did you hear this week's episode?" And this is a dollar store conversation.
You're kidding.
There's a big line behind us, and this is kind of what breaks out. And now I've made another local friend.
That's awesome.
And an enemy of all the people behind you.
You guys build a great community, and after a year or so of listening, I was like, I'm morally obligated to sponsor. I get too much out of this, and that and Rob's Instagram.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah, that's a blast.
Amazing. Oh yeah,
outstanding. Well, it's been a really real treat getting to know you and hearing about you from, just like, hey, here's a guy and here's his stuff and here's what he's into, and then he's part of our community. It's great. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your perspective and what you're into and your enthusiasm.
My pleasure, guys. This is a blast.
Awesome.
Jared?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's come to the time of this awesome show with Mike Diluccio. And we play a little game of Would You Rather? This week's Would You Rather is from our good buddy Rick Calhoun from Honey Picks.
Mm-hmm.
He is also an executive producer, and he sent this to me a while back, and I really like this. It's a little long, but I really like this Would You Rather. So pay attention. So you're walking down the street with your significant other and your best pal when you notice a miniature guitar laying on the ground. As you pick it up, you notice it has a little tiny guitar strings. Just for fun, you pick it up just to hear what it sounds like, and you strum it, and lo and behold, out comes a guitar genie.
The guitar genies are hiding in all kinds of places and things.
This was an obvious one because he's a guitar genie hiding in a little tiny guitar.
Right.
So.
Yeah, very obvious.
He thanks you for releasing him from the miniature guitar and wants to grant you a gift. The guitar genie wants to take you on a shopping spree at the local guitar store. But there's a catch, of course, because this
always
is Would
a
You
catch.
Rather.
Always
Would you rather? There has to be a catch. The genie has decided that you will not get to shop for yourself. Instead, your significant other or best friend will be shopping for you. He will grant your significant other $7,500 to buy anything in the store. But your best friend only has $5,000 to spend. That's $2,500 difference there. That's a lot of money. They are buying for you, and you will have to decide who gets to shop at the guitar store. So who will it be? Will you choose your significant other who possibly doesn't know as much as about gear, but has more money to spend? Or do you choose your best friend who has less money, but knows all of your favorite pieces of gear?
Oh, boy.
That's
a really good
one.
It is.
The math was starting to concern me.
Yeah, me too. Trust me.
Okay, so $7,500 from your significant other who has no idea what he or she is doing, or them or they or whatever.
You can buy all guitar stands. That's all you're going to get. $7,500 worth of guitar stands, or music stands, and who knows,
right?
And violin rosin for your bow,
and a piano,
or your pal who knows you inside and out is got $5,000.
Yep.
No.
Yes.
I thought it was $2,500.
No.
There's
a $2,500 difference.
Oh, that's where the 25 came from.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Your pal's got $5,000, and the significant.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
$7,500.
I mean, that is a lot of money. I guess just from my perspective, I'm like, if I had $5,000, I don't know if I've ever had $5,000 to spend on anything. That would be amazing. Yeah. Let's see here.
Yeah, it's a good problem.
It really is a good problem. So the would you rather is, are you going with your significant other or are you going with your pal? And no loopholes. Okay. Tony, go ahead.
Well, first I would wish for a second wish.
Yes.
No, I thought, when I was originally thinking it was only $2,500 that my buddy had, I was going to say, that is a lot, very, very significant. But I think that the smart choice, because someone who knows what you want, what you like, and can pick out something that's very special for you, is your best friend. So that's what I'm going with.
Let me tell you about my
Boop,
friend.
boop, 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 boop.
Okay.
Courtship of Eddie's father.
Sounds good.
.com.
I think, I don't know, I might actually give up my money to watch your wife try to shop for guitar stuff.
My wife?
Yeah.
She'd take the money and just throw it in the bank
hilarious.
or something.
Right,
that
Jared?
would be,
I know, mine too.
I found you this nice pick.
Yeah.
I know. We're going to invest the rest of it.
Exactly.
The guy said this one was really special. All right. Jared, about yourself.
Yeah, this is a really super, super difficult one. A long time ago, when my wife loved me a lot, when we first met and we were in the euphoric stage.
Wait, Todd, can you cut that out?
Yeah.
No, don't cut that out. She don't listen to this anyway. Actually, she bought me a Gibson Custom SG, and that later got stolen. She knows gear.
Oh.
So yeah, I do trust her. So in my case, in my real life situation, if that really happened, which is not going to happen, I would definitely let my wife in there and purchase the stuff. She knows what's good and what's not.
Ah.
Impressive.
You know, and I'm banking on her buying a really nice guitar for $7,500 because that's probably what I would want.
Not the trombone.
Interesting.
Yeah, or the trumpet or flute.
Mike, how about yourself?
Okay, so you said no loophole, so I'm going to take the question literally here. My better half knows her stuff.
Ah.
Like that Hydra, I didn't buy it. Best
Nice.
Christmas gift ever. So I think when I'm gear nerding out, I think she can tell and maybe keeps an eye on what I'm looking up. So
Right.
Yeah, so I've gotten like a Temple audio board and a couple other things. So I would trust the purchasing in her hands. And I mean, either way, 5,000 or 7,500, that's amazing. But I think she'd do an awesome job with it. So no, I'm gonna go with the better half.
Totally.
Well,
What about you, old chum?
I gotta go with my pal. Whichever pal I might be going with, I'm gonna say, and my wife would totally understand. She'd be like, "Yeah."
Your wife loves Pink Floyd. That's like her favorite band of all time.
But that's it. That's
So she would walk in there and be like, "I want the
or Tom Petty. That's the two.
right." So
She'd buy you a Gilmore Strat.
Yeah, she would just go in there and say, "I love Gilmore. What do you got?"
Yeah,
for my husband?
I would go with my pal. Whichever pal I might be rolling with is gonna know what I'm into more so than my wife. So
All right, I agree with you.
I'll look for the black guitar with the gold sparkle pickguard.
all right, well that was really fun. Thanks, Rick, for sending that in. Rick's gonna be on the show pretty soon, by the way. So we'll be talking to him about his cool honey picks. So that was a really fun one. Tony, we got a few people that we need to thank.
Oh, yes, we do, Todd, because at this point of the show, we have a group of people that we love to thank for their kind support. These are our executive producers. Now, somebody out there is probably wondering, what's this executive producer? Maybe they're also wondering how they can become one. Quite simple, folks. Go over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs. Check out a couple of different levels in which you can participate. Become a patron, a sponsor of this very podcast. Each level comes with a great bevy of thank you gifts. But as an executive producer, you get all the good stuff. And there's one thing more. Mike, what is that?
You get your name called out near the end of the episode.
Right. In other words, you get your name right on the thing.
Yep.
You got it. The name read on the thing. I think that's the formal.
Yes, that is the official call out.
But good job, Mike.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
No worries.
So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to thank these executive producers. Moon Guitars, Vader and Pedals, Drew Lopez, John Helverson, Rick Calhoun, Trevor Gunberg, Elad Mizrahi, Gary Cooper, Jason Roush, Mike D.
Yep.
I know him.
Me too.
Richard Kendall, Mark Garton, Matt Hart, James White, Justin Jones, Anthony Gemolero, Bill Gola Guitars, John Esterly, Anthony Lathrop, Stefan Lamb, Michael Lawrence Senchuk. Boy, we added a middle name to him. How about that? Ken Sayers, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, John Anglin, and Tom Brazen.
Right on. Thank you so much.
Wait a second there, Todd, because there's another group of executive producers.
A higher level.
A higher level, if you will. These are our grand poobahs. They're right now enjoying complimentary beverages in their individual hot tubs filled with a special orangish, I guess you'd say. Liquid, I guess you'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and they each get a Pinto, a Ford Pinto that's been wrapped in black and orange.
Wow, we splurged for the Pintos this time?
Yeah.
Holy moly. Well, these, executive producers are just a notch above our regulars, but we love them. We love them all. So special thanks to these grand poobahs: Tommy Manasco, Ricardo Igareda, David Kaminga, Brandon Wound Pickups, Hex Matos, Michio Murakishi, Bob Crouch, Jack Caden, Sam Jett, LSJ Music Company, John Williams, James Pennington, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Cody Foster, Science of Sound, Brian Robison, Jonathan Jerusik of 12th Hour Devices, Corey Nigro, Michael Van Zant, Tim Nowak, Jonathan Daly, Martin Cliff, Sean S. And yes, we have a new Grand Poobah.
Love it.
Rat King, also known as Caleb Myson Joyce.
Right on. Thank you so much, one and all. And thank you, Rat King, for joining our illustrious group of Grand Poobahs. Let's see. We want to have a humongous thank you to Mike Diluccio for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for being on the show, man.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
And I also want to say a personal thank you to Mike's wife who reached out to us. So that was a really special thing. So thank you. And let's see. Do you want to point anybody anywhere to see what you're doing or to talk to you about guitar stuff?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the cover bands are doing amazing things. And although I'm not playing with them, I got to give them a shout out. They are awesome. So one of the bands is called Sonic, and I believe you can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Sonic 90s. And so I've got a substitute who's spectacular. And so I gave him the wheel for a bit, but I'll be back eventually. And the other band, Big Shiny 90s.
Cool.
Named after there was a Much Music Canadian compilation album in the 90s called Big Shiny Tunes. Yeah. So Sonic is called Sonic because think Sonic the Hedgehog 90s sound. It works. And Big Shiny 90s, you can find it at bigshinynines.com. There's recordings there and two awesome 90s cover bands. And aside from that, the thing that I'm working on now with content creation is playlikethemasters.com. And this is it's a subscription service for people who want a much better experience to have resources that are going to help them play like their favorite guitars.
Awesome.
Nice.
Excellent. Tony, about yourself.
Head on over to pickguardian.com. Check out some of the stuff that I have available for purchase. If you can order many things online, but by and large, what I do is custom work. So shoot me an email, let me know what you want, what you need, and I'll make something very special for you.
Awesome. Jared?
Hey, if you have a question, email me at bigbrandon26@msn.com.
What?
That's my old email I got when I was 20.
I thought
years
Get
old.
an Instagram.
Oh,
No.
I thought that was your porn name.
No, I was like in my early 20s when I got that. I'm like, I'm going to just add some age to myself. So but yeah, I passed 26 and now I'm like 44. So I've had that email a long time.
Is that
everybody?
Was that
send
your
me an
AOL
email,
account?
'cause you can go through the Guitar Knobs thing too if you want, but I think it would be easier on Todd if you just sent me an email if you had any Gibson or not Gibson, but just general pickup questions.
It's so it take you to 30 seconds. Anyways, all right, you can shoot me an email, Todd at theguitarknobs.com, or DM me on Instagram at guitarknobs. We would love to hear from you. Share your would you rather with us. We would love to read it on air. And we're just really happy that we have such great supporters, such great community members, such great builders and players out there. So hats off to one and all who are helping to keep the entire guitar universe moving. Mike, thank you. People out there, thank you. Have a fantastic Guitar Week and subscribe!
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
I can hear you.
Hello.
But
I'm 6'6". I'm huge. You can't get in my way.
you're 6'7", come on. Okay. You bozo. Oh, no. Hey-o.
I want to slap your back so bad and help you.
Yeah. Slap my back and call me Fanny.
Any better?
Well, no, you still sound like yourself, so.
Todd, are you
Tony.
there? Todd, are you there?
You hear me?
Just hold
I'll
a
just-
pillow on your face for a really long time.
Okay, I can do that.
Extol the virtues of patronage.
Okay, well, you're going to have to explain that to Jared.
I wasn't paying attention. I was reading some.
That
Buddy,
before.
a lot of my family, like my moms and uncles, they retired from education. Most of them were teachers. And they told
Wait,
their
how
kids.
else do you retire from education?
That's the way to do it.
So anyway, they told their kids, listen,
Say, hey, Rob, you should talk about it. I don't think you want me to talk about that. Oh, yeah, you're right. You just be quiet over there. That's the way it works here. I can't. You're going to turn a 4-hour job into an 8-hour job real
I
quick.
know I'm the worst.
Yeah. The Tigers of Pantang. What is that? They
So
just
they're
throw
going
out.
to walk into class in a few weeks and go, Diluccio.
Oh, yeah.
It was just too funny. I couldn't. My body couldn't take it.
Oh, jeez.
Thanks, Jared. I needed that.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.